Hey guys, welcome to another video, and in this one we'll take a look at our previous tier 4 character tier list and see how do the new characters that were released in January and February impact the current meta, and do they change the meta at all, or what are the best characters to build currently for PvE and PvP. So the structure of the tier list will remain the same. You will still have the category number 1 will be best for PvE, and these are the characters that are meta in multiple PvE game modes. Then you will have best characters for PvP, which are the characters that are meta in multiple PvP game modes. Then good for PvE and good for PvP respectively are the characters that are really good in this game and usually can serve as a replacement for one of the best characters in the best category. So for example, here you can use Psylocke. Instead of Psylocke, you could use Rogue, for example, and instead of like Gladiator, Alien Hero, you could use Beta Ray Bill, and so on and so forth. Same goes for good for PvP. These characters are still amazing in multiple PvP game modes, but they are not as good as this character right here. And then we have do not build category, which are characters that it doesn't mean that they are bad characters per se, it just means that there are better options to build than the current characters. For example, here you have Namor as a combat villain or Moon Knight as a combat hero, but there is really no reason to build Moon Knight as a combat hero now that Venom exists, for example. So the structure of the tier list will remain the same. Now, before we start slotting in the new characters and see how do they impact the meta, I would like to make few comments and few changes about the previous tier list. So one change I would like to make is that I still slotted Black Bolt as good for PvE, and while he still is decent enough, I do not think he deserves to be in good for PvE anymore. It's simply better to build Thanos in his farmer uniform for PvE than Black Bolt, and even Loki will give you more value than Black Bolt as a universal villain. So I would move Black Bolt from good for PvE category to do not build category. One more comment I would like to make is people ask me, why do I keep Spider-Gwen in good for PvE when you have characters like that are better than her, for example Gamora? And the reason is Spider-Gwen is one of the characters that new players get for free at Transcend Potential, and just by buying this uniform you could use her in multiple game modes, so ABX, ABL, and World Boss Legend. And I do take that into consideration when I slotted the characters. And yes, you are right, there are better characters like Gamora. Her newest uniform is definitely better than Spider-Gwen, but that doesn't mean, I think, that if I put Gamora here instead of Spider-Gwen, that would mean that maybe new players, when they start the game, would completely disregard Spider-Gwen and start invest resources into Gamora, which I'm not saying is bad, but it's way better to just invest in a speed villain female like Dark Gwenpool to have more and more value in your roster. So without further ado, let's now start with the new characters and see how do they impact the meta. So first we'll start with Sharon Rogers. Now Sharon Rogers previously was in the do not build category, and we can go ahead and remove her from there, and the new Sharon Rogers will unfortunately also go into do not build category, and let me explain why. So new Sharon Rogers in her newest uniform is definitely an upgrade over her previous uniform, but she still suffers the same problems as previous Sharon Rogers uniform, and that is what I like to call a ruler without a throne, or in this case queen without a throne. If she was a male, it would be king without a throne, and that's because she is amazing in only one game mode, and that is World Boss Legend. And Sure, you can invest your tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 resources and build her to tier 4, and she will melt world bosses for you. But wouldn't it be more beneficial to invest the same amount of resources in a character like, I don't know, for example, Dark Gwenpool, and in addition for melting world bosses for you, she would also be meta in some days of ABX and ABL for you. Or you could invest a little bit more resources and build Doctor Strange, who is the uncontested king for PvE at the moment. So I do not see the value of building Sharon Rogers currently. That doesn't mean that she's a terrible character, it just means that she's only tunnel visioning one game mode, and that is World Boss Legend content. And while this newest uniform is better than her previous one, it still suffers the same problems as being only really good in World Boss Legend. And there are characters that are good in World Boss Legend while they're also being good in other game modes. So this is the reason why I would put Sharon Rogers into that build category, even with her newest uniform. Then we have Gambit. Oh boy, did this character piss me off. Like, I'm quite sure that anyone who built Gambit and played with Gambit and tested him in multiple game modes, we all share the same opinion, and that is that first, Gambit is really cool, and the second is Gambit needs a buff. And that's pretty much it. So I would want Gambit to be somewhere around here, maybe replacing Cable and being better, or replacing Psylocke in some of the days, or being amazing in World Boss Legend and other game modes, maybe Dimension Rift farming, but unfortunately Gambit just did fall short in terms of his performance. Is about as good as the current mutants we have for ABX and ABL. Some tests say he's a little bit worse, some tests say he's a little bit better, but my testing showed that he is a little bit worse than the current mutants we have for ABX and ABL, and unfortunately Gambit, even though he's one of my favorite characters from X-Men especially, I do not think that he is currently worth building, and hashtag buff Gambit. I firmly believe that this character does need a buff. Nothing much, maybe like 5 to 10% increase in his damage or consistency, and his placement would easily go here or maybe even here. But currently, as it stands from my testing, Gambit goes into the do not build category. So next up we have Hawkeye. Now Hawkeye is actually a decent character. He does a good amount of damage, and especially if you have him on tier 4. But he is a speed male hero, same as Miles Morales, and he has exactly the same amount of stages as Miles Morales, and same uses as Miles Morales, as he's a speed male hero. And if you go and take one comparison, Miles Morales versus Hawkeye, Hawkeye falls short in almost every department compared to Miles Morales, and Miles Morales is at this point, I think, 2-year-old uniform. So I do not see a reason why would anyone build Hawkeye over Miles Morales unless they are really huge fans of the character. So Miles Morales being better than Hawkeye leaves Hawkeye at do not build category, unfortunately. Next up, we have Bullseye. Now, Bullseye is actually a really, really decent character. He's about as good, maybe slightly better than Dark Gwenpool, but Dark Gwenpool has more uses in ABX and ABL, especially if you do not own Luna Snow, and she has more stages in World Boss Legend than Bullseye, but given the fact that in Alliance Battle stages where they both can be used, he is about as good or maybe slightly better than Dark Gwenpool. He deserves to be in the good for PvE category. It's not that like he is amazing. I wouldn't really put him in best for PvE, but he definitely deserves his spot in the good for PvE. I still wouldn't build him over Dark Gwenpool because Dark Gwenpool simply has more uses. She's unlike him, also quite decent in World Boss Legend. He isn't. He suffers multiple survivability issues. As soon as you're not in his invincibility, he can die instantly, even from stages like 60 or 70 Mephisto. So this is the reason why he only deserves to be in Gun for PvE, which is quite good because now that more and more powerful characters get released, it's going to be more and more hard for characters to slot in good for PvE or for PvP. Like, look at this, for example, Sentry and characters like Wolverine are in good for PvP category in my list. So a character being as good as Wolverine or Sentry or Silver Surfer in PvP is really not too shabby. It's really not too shabby. We have Titans in PvP like Adam Warlock and I don't know, Deadpool with his max build, or Thanos, who are really good at PvP, just they're not as good as him. So Bullseye being here really shows how powerful he is, but not as good as Dark Gwenpool. Now, next up we have Star-Lord, and Star-Lord was previously in the Do Not Build category, so we can go ahead and remove him from Do Not Build category, and this uniform is an upgrade, definitely an upgrade over his previous uniform, and I would say that this uniform really deserves to be in the good for PvE category for one reason. The reason is that he is currently the second best character that for Alliance Battle Alien Hero Days after Gladiator, so he still isn't replacing Gladiator. Even with Team Up Collection, he cannot, maxed up Team Up Collection and 35% Pierce, he cannot replace Gladiator, but because he's much easier to build than Gladiator, he requires less resources, he's much more easy to get to tier 3, and costs less resources to get to tier 4. I do think that he's a decent free-to-play, or not free-to-play, but rather cheaper option for Alien Hero Days in Alliance Battle to Gladiator. Not as good as Gladiator, but because he is still the only replacement, like he's way better than Thor in Alliance Battle. He is also better than Beta Ray Bill in Alliance Battle, but these two characters are absolutely amazing in World Boss Legend, and they can be used in Alliance Battle. This is why they also deserve to be in good for PvE. But Star-Lord definitely now deserves to be in the good for PvE category as a replacement for Gladiator, but if you do have Gladiator at tier 4, there is no reason to build Star-Lord currently. Same as if you have Dark Gwenpool, there is really no reason to build Bullseye currently. Now next up we have Gamora, and Gamora was previously in the Do Not Build category, and this uniform is also a massive upgrade over her previous Gamora Guardians of the Galaxy uniform, and she is really good now. I really want to put her in the good for PvE category. It's just she isn't needed per se. Like, Luna Snow is still better. She is still meta in more days. Dark Gwenpool is a villain, so she can... And by the way, Luna being a human and Gamora being an alien still means that Luna Snow will have more ABX, ABL days and World Boss Legend days where she can be used. Unlike Gamora, who is an alien, so she suffers from that restrictions and she doesn't have as many uses as Luna Snow. So Luna Snow still remains the undisputed queen for PvE. When we're talking about speed females, she's definitely not as good as like some other female characters that are in different category. But she definitely is the best option to build now as a speed female, apart from Luna Snow, as a speed female hero. So if you need speed female and you want one character to cover everything and have most uses, you always need to be building Luna Snow. If you are a free-to-play player and you cannot get Luna's seasonal uniform, then Gamora might be your best option for speed female hero. It's just, and if you're completely a new player, then because you're getting Spider-Gwen for free at Transcendent Potential, then she still has more value to you, because you just need to buy her uniform and can use her in multiple game modes. So Gamora in her newest uniform is definitely better than Spider-Gwen, but I will be keeping Spider-Gwen here just because of the fact that new players are getting her for free, and that I am taking into consideration when building my tier lists. In my opinion, if you are a veteran player or you can easily spend money, I would always build Luna Snow and as a speed female hero, and as a speed female villain, I would build Dark Gwenpool and completely disregard these two characters. But they have their uses like free-to-play alternative to Luna Snow and new player best speed character that they can build. So this is why they deserve to be good for PvE category. Next up we have Magic, and Magic is surprisingly really good for PvP. And I would say that if you take a look at the previous tier, best and good for PvP, most of them are native tier 3s and native tier 2s. But Magic is at tier 1, she's a semi-premium character because you can get her bias from Dimension Missions, but she can definitely be played in Timeline Battle, and she's more of a Otherworld Battle and Alliance Conquest meta. She does need a really good build, so you do need a max build on her, you do need good CTPs on her, you do need her artifacts, so she takes a heavy toll on your account similar to Carnage, but she seems, from my testing, a bit better than Carnage. Well, she's about as good as Carnage in my opinion. Might be slightly better in Otherworld Battle and Timeline Battle, while Carnage might be slightly better in Otherworld Battle in Alliance Conquest. She might be a bit better, and Carnage might be better, a little bit better in Timeline Battle from my testing, especially if you play on manual. But yeah, she definitely deserves to be in good for PvP. I do think that she's way better than characters like I don't know, Thanos, Doom, and other older Apocalypse. So putting her here to be next to Doom, I do not think that's fair. So she definitely, in my opinion, deserves to be in good for PvP. She's not the best. Well, she might sometimes be able to kill Null. It doesn't mean that she's better than Null, but she deserves to be around here. Next up we have Hawkeye. Sorry, not Hawkeye, but Falcon. Now, Falcon is a character who is a speed human hero, so like Hawkeye, he is having a direct comparison to Miles Morales in all game modes where they both can be used, because they share the exactly same tags. And while he deals amazing damage similar to Hawkeye, if you do a one-to-one comparison between him and Miles Morales from my testing still has an edge. So if a 2-year-old uniform for Miles Morales is better than new Falcon uniform or on par with him, there is really no reason to build Falcon in his new Captain America uniform. So like Hawkeye, he goes into the do not build category. Now, next up we have Winter Soldier in his combat villain uniform, so he is not a speed type, and this character, I think, these two characters are hidden gems from both January and February updates, and I would honestly put this character in good for PvE category. I still need to do a lot testing on him, especially if I get him to tier 4, to see if his maybe deserving to be here in the best for PvE category instead of Hulk. He doesn't have team up collection, but even without team up collection, he seems really good in alliance battle game modes, and he is quite decent in PvP in World Boss Legend. Hulk can and Dr. Octopus can go up to 35% pierce, so they are, if you max out their team up collections, so they're quite hard to beat in those in Alliance Battle and or World Boss Legend. Him in Alliance Battle and him at World Boss Legend. But Winter Soldier, even though he doesn't have a team up collection, he does seem really good in every single game mode, so he might be a cheaper alternative to Hulk and Dr. Octopus, in a sense that you do not need to build team up collection to a maximum for him to be really good. So he definitely deserves to be in a good for PvE. Currently. I'm not yet sure, and we need more testing to see if he maybe deserves to be in the best for PvE, replacing Hulk. And I will probably have an upcoming videos where I will test him at tier 4, if I get him to tier 4 with different CTPs compared to Hulk and Dr. Octopus, to see how powerful he is and if he can maybe indeed replace Hulk and take his place in best for PvE. So he is really, really good. Really hidden gem of the updates. So expect good things from Winter Soldier. Finally, we have Black Widow. Now, Black Widow previously was in the do not build category. She wasn't really that good in PvE and PvP. Her newest uniform isn't really good in PvE either, but boy oh boy, she seems really, really good in PvP. I wouldn't say that she deserves to be here in the best for PvP. However, now that she is and has a symbiote uniform, she can double dip from Null's leadership, for example, and she can take advantage of supports like Agent Venom. She can take advantage from supports like Agent Venom with his artifacts. So, she claps in PvP. She seems decent in Other World Battle, in Alliance Conquest. Even I've seen good results from her in Timeline Battle. She does seem a bit inconsistent, similar to the symbiote Spider-Man, but she definitely deserves to be currently in the good for PvP category. I'm not sure if any of these characters like Magic and Black Widow deserve to be here in the best for PvP, even though they can take out Null for sometimes. I think that it's more realistic if they are, for example, like if the list for PvP goes like this, which is really good because now new players have cheap alternatives, cheap tier 1 native tier 1 characters that are good for PvP, like Black Widow and Magic. They do not have to invest tons of resources to build a character like Sentry, because Sentry was the only option. So this is shifting a PvP meta in a healthy way. So in summary, decent characters, nothing really meta shaking. Like we didn't have meta shakes like we had with Null or with the Doctor Strange, but if you take a look here, most of those characters did end up in good for PvE or good for PvP category. Characters that I do not think are worth building are Hawkeye and Falcon, because Miles Morales still seems better. Star-Lord is a cheaper version of Alien ABL Day than Gladiator. Gamora, she doesn't have as many uses as Luna Snow, but she is the best free-to-play option currently for her. Sharon Rogers, really good in World Boss Legend, but nothing too special. She is really good in World Boss Legend, but she cannot be used in any other game modes, so she's nothing really that special. Gambit, I think, deserves a buff. Black Widow and Magic are really good in PvP, and Winter Soldier, we need to see how he is really good in ABX and ABL. We just need to see if he is better than Hulk, which is a topic for another day. So this is the newest tier list, the February 2024, 2025 tier list. So let me know what you think, guys, about this tier list, if you have any questions or if you would change anything about this tier list. And I will be updating the tier list every month or two, so you guys do know what my opinions are on the current meta, which are the best characters to build, in my opinion, currently. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye bye.